Every story has a turning point, a moment when everything changes. The turning point.
I never liked basements. Even as a kid, they felt wrong. Like places that didn't belong inside homes. Cold, quiet, too quiet. So when I opened Mr. Garland's basement door and that smell hit me, I should have walked away. I didn't. And that's on me. He'd lived next to me for over 2 years, brought beer when I moved in, helped shovel snow, picked up our mail when we were out of town. Perfect neighbor. Until last Thursday night, when I heard the sound. A long, dragging scrape, like something heavy being pulled across concrete. It went on, in and out, for nearly 20 minutes, always the same rhythm. Scrape, pause, scrape. Then, silence. I looked out the window. He was standing in his yard, perfectly still, looking straight at my house. And the next morning, I found something by the fence. Something I was never meant to see. When we moved into the neighborhood, it felt like we'd finally made it. Quiet street, big trees, fresh-cut lawns, the kind of place where people actually wave when they drive past. Our house was a little old, but it had character. A crooked front porch, creaky stairs, and a big yard where my wife wanted to plant tomatoes. It felt safe. Mr. Garland lived next door, early 60s, maybe 65. Always wore the same green windbreaker and faded jeans. He introduced himself on our second day, brought over a 6-pack of local craft beer, and asked if I needed help with the furniture. Polite, soft-spoken, a bit quiet, but maybe just lonely. "Been here 30 years," he said. "Last real neighbor moved out 10 ago. Glad to have good folks next door again." Over the next few months, we got used to seeing him almost every day. He'd water his lawn at 7 a.m. sharp, mow every Sunday, always alone. We never saw any family visit, no car in the driveway, but sometimes around midnight, I'd hear an engine start up and pull away, quick, like someone trying not to be seen. Once I offered to help him fix a broken fence panel between our yards. "No need," he said without looking at me. "It's not bothering anyone." You didn't smile that time. That was the first time I noticed something was off. But the second time? That was 3 days before the dragging sound. It had rained that night. Not hard, but enough to turn the edges of our yard to soft mud. I was taking the trash out early in the morning when I noticed something at the base of the fence, half caught under the mesh. A small piece of fabric, dirt-covered, damp, light blue. At first I thought it was a rag, maybe blown in from the street. I picked it up. It wasn't just fabric. It was part of a child's pajama shirt, the kind with faded cartoon animals, bears and moons and stars. One sleeve was torn, the edge stained with something brownish red. Mud, maybe not. I stood there for a long time, holding it, trying to come up with a reason why a child's shirt would be in my yard. We didn't have kids. None of the neighbors did either. Not on this block. I looked toward Mr. Garland's yard. His porch light was still on. The curtains in his kitchen window were pulled shut, tighter than usual. I didn't tell my wife about the shirt. I don't know why. Maybe because saying it out loud would have made it real. Maybe because deep down I'd already started to suspect that something about our neighbor wasn't just strange. It was wrong. The next day, no sign of him. Curtains closed, yard untouched, no lights. That night the sounds came back. A dull thud, then silence, then that dragging again. Softer, slower, closer. I looked out the window. Something moved in his yard. Slow, heavy. Then just as I leaned in to see better, another shape, It darted across the grass, low to the ground, quick, too fast for a person, too smooth for an animal. I grabbed a flashlight and ran outside. The cold air hit my face. I shined the light toward the fence. Nothing. But when I turned back toward the house, he was there, in the upstairs window, standing completely still, just watching me. No light behind him, just that pale face, barely visible in the glass. The next morning, I knocked on his door. He opened it, barely, just a crack. "You okay?" I asked. "I thought I heard something last night." He didn't answer right away, just stared for a second, then said flatly, "Rats, old basement, that's all." He closed the door. No goodbye, no eye contact, just the soft sound of the lock sliding into place. I went to the police the next day, told them about the sounds, the shirt I found, the way he watched the house at night. They listened, took notes, said they'd check it out. But without a threat, without a body, there wasn't much they could do. 2 days later, his front door was open, and the light was on in the basement. I told myself I wouldn't go inside. Just a peek, that's all. The front door creaked as I pushed it open. Cold air drifted out. The smell hit me right away. Damp, dusty. And something else. Something metallic. Faint, but sharp. "Mr. Garland?" I called out. No answer. I stepped inside. The hallway was dark. On the walls, old photos, faded. Mostly of forests and mountains. No family, no faces. Just empty scenery. The floor creaked under my feet. The air was thick, like it hadn't moved in years. Then, I saw it. The basement door. Slightly open, a dull light glowing from underneath. I should have left. I didn't. The stairs groaned with every step. The deeper I went, the worse the smell became. Mold. Copper. Something sour beneath it. At the bottom, I stopped. It wasn't a storage room, not a laundry room. It was a bedroom. A child's bedroom. But it was wrong. Too clean. Too quiet. Too still. A small bed sat against the far wall, neatly made with pink sheets. Stuffed animals lined the shelves. A soft lamp glowed in the corner. The walls were covered in crayon drawings, scribbled shapes, childish figures. Beneath them, names, written in messy handwriting. One name repeated over and over. Molly. 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 Then, I saw the chains, bolted to the walls, to the bedposts. My stomach turned. In the corner, a plastic box filled with VHS tapes, dozens of them, each one labeled with a name and a date. Some from last year, some from decades ago. A camera stood on a tripod at the foot of the bed, its red light still blinking. Recording. I stepped back, slowly. Then, I noticed the heavy metal door on the far side of the room. It was closed, and something behind it moved. I froze. Footsteps. Overhead. Slow. Heavy. Measured. Like someone pacing above me. Waiting. Then they stopped. right over the basement door. I held my breath. I was trapped in a fake child's bedroom, with chains, with tapes. My thoughts spun, run, scream, hide, but I couldn't move. Not yet. I didn't know who was up there, Garland or someone worse. The light above me flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. Floorboards creaked. Then, the basement door opened. I turned off the lamp by the bed. Darkness swallowed the room. Footsteps came down, one by one, slow, steady. I pressed against the wall, behind the door, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear the steps. They reached the floor, stopped. I saw a part of a silhouette, a shoulder, the side of a face. It was Garland. He stood still, just staring at the bed, at the camera, at the chains. Then, he turned his head, listening. And then he spoke, calm, soft. "I know you're here." He didn't sound surprised, not angry, just certain. He turned, slowly, his expression blank. No shock, no confusion, like he expected this. I didn't wait. I shoved the basement door into him, hard. He stumbled, cursed. I ran, up the stairs, 2 steps at a time. I didn't stop running until I was 3 blocks from home. I didn't go back to the house. I didn't even think about it. Being alone there, right next to his, felt worse than running into the dark. I just ran, toward lights, people, somewhere I could breathe. When I finally reached the gas station on the corner, I called 911, tried to explain. The room, the chains, the tapes. I expected disbelief, but they sent a car within minutes. By the time we returned, Garland's house was dark. The front door? Closed. No sign of forced entry. 3 officers swept the place, flashlights cutting through the dark. They searched the basement and found nothing. No bed, no drawings, no chains, just cracked concrete floors and an old water heater. They looked at me like I was the problem, asked if I'd been drinking, using anything, having trouble at home. They were polite, but distant. Not a single mention of the tapes I told them about. One officer asked if I wanted to file a report. But for what? There was nothing left. No proof. Just me, standing in an empty house, insisting I'd seen something that no longer existed. I went home, but I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with all the lights on. Didn't speak, didn't move, just listened. Every sound felt sharp. The fridge humming, the pipes clicking, the floor settling upstairs. None of it felt normal. I checked the back door 3 times, then the basement window, then the front lock again. It was past 3 a.m. when I finally let myself blink. And that's when I heard it. It started again the next night. Not the dragging, not the footsteps. Something quieter, slower. At first, I thought it was the pipes, or maybe the wind against the gutters. But then, it repeated, at exactly the same time. 3:13 a.m. A soft sound, like a faint knock, 3 times. Then, silence. The next night, again. Same time. Same sound. Always 3 knocks. Always from the back of the house. By the 3rd night, I couldn't take it anymore. I stayed up, lights off, sitting in the dark with a kitchen knife and my phone in my lap. When the clock hit 3:12, I held my breath, waited, and there it was. Tap, tap, tap. It wasn't coming from the door. It was coming from the floor vent. I got on my knees, heart pounding, pressed my ear to the grate. At first, nothing. Just still air. Then, a breath. Not mine. Someone exhaled on the other side, just once. Low. Quiet. Close. I stumbled back so hard I hit the counter. Knocked over a glass. It shattered on the tile. My wife came running out of the bedroom half asleep, panicked. "What was that?" she asked. I didn't know what to say, so I lied. "Just dropped something. Sorry. Go back to bed." She looked at me for a second, her eyes still foggy. Then she nodded and turned around. I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor until the sun came up, staring at that vent. I never told her about the basement, or the tapes, or the child's shirt I found weeks ago. I thought I could protect her by keeping it to myself. But now, I'm not so sure. Because last night, the knocks came again, and this time, they came from inside the house. I told her everything. This time I didn't hold anything back. The dragging, the pajama shirt, the basement, the bed, the tapes, the voice. I expected her to cry, to panic, maybe even laugh nervously. But she just stared at me. Calm, still, eyes wide. Then she said, "There is no Mr. Garland." At first I thought she'd misunderstood, so I repeated it. "Next door. Green windbreaker, quiet guy. He's been there since we moved in." She shook her head. "That house has been empty for years. We looked at it when we bought this one, remember? You said it gave you a headache." I didn't remember that. Not any of it. I argued, insisted, grabbed my phone, pulled up the camera roll, tried to find something, anything. There was nothing. No photos of him, no footage, just a fence, a yard, an empty porch. She looked scared, not of Garland, of me. The rest is a blur. Appointments, evaluations, an emergency hold, and now this. White walls, soft voices, pills in a paper cup. They say it was a stress reaction, a break, a fracture in perception. I'm supposed to believe it was all in my head, that the shirt never existed, that the basement was a dream, that there never was a man next door. But every night at 3:13, just after the hallway lights dim, I hear it. Tap, tap, tap. 3 soft knocks. And I still don't know what scares me more, that it's real or that it's not.
If this story moved you, there's more to come. Subscribe and don't miss the next turning point.